Hello and welcome to Indus News. Live from Islamabad, I'm Naila Shuja and these are the headlines. Four United States soldiers have reportedly been killed in a roadside mine explosion in northeastern Syria. Syria's state news agency said the slain soldiers were taken to the United States base in the Shadadi area. It said following the explosion, the United States forces cordoned off the area. At least 11 people have been killed and 8 others wounded in an attack on a military post in Iraq's capital city of Baghdad. Medics say the assailant used grenades and automatic weapons in the attack. Police say security forces have started a search operation in the area. In the United States, Joe Biden's advisors have begun discussing who can fill key posts after he pledged the most diverse cabinet in history. His first speech as the president-elect, Biden vowed to unify the country. His defeated rival, Donald Trump, continues to cast doubt on election results. Azerbaijan says Armenian troops have again targeted civilians with various small arms and mortars. The defense ministry says Azeri military's retaliation dealt heavy damage to Armenian troops in the Khojavend region. It says the operations in the Aghdir, Aghdam, Khojavend, and Gulbaldi fronts continue with varying intensity. Mexico's COVID-19 death toll has crossed 95,000 with infections tally nearly 1 million. In the United States, the caseload is approaching 10 million, while its fatality count has topped 237,000. Pakistan has reported over 1,600 new cases and 9 fatalities overnight, with the death toll reaching 6,977. Globally, the virus has claimed over 1.25 million lives and infected more than 50 million people. And in football, Valencia thrashed Real Madrid 4-1 in a Spanish La Liga fixture. Carlos Soler's hat-trick over penalties secured Valencia's win in the extraordinary match. The latest win moves Valencia in the 9th place in the league with 11 points. For more news and details, stay tuned. We'll be right back after a short break. Welcome back. In northeastern Syria, 4 U.S. soldiers have reportedly been killed in a roadside IED blast in the Haska province. Syrian state media says the slain troops were taken to a U.S. base in the Shadadi area. It said American forces cordoned off the area after the explosion tore through a U.S. military vehicle. It said U.S. forces in Syria and their Kurdish allies control much of the area, including the oil fields. The United States has around 100 troops and 60 Bradley fighting vehicles deployed in the region. It ramped up its military presence back in September after skirmishes with the Russian army. Earlier, 3 civilians were killed and 9 others injured in a landmine explosion in the Hama province. At least 11 people have been killed and 8 others wounded in an attack on a military post in Iraq's capital city of Baghdad. Police say the attackers used grenades and atomic weapons. They said this assailants in 4 vehicles attacked the post in the city's Al-Rawaniya district. Police added security forces have started a search operation in the area. Earlier, Iraq's Joint Operation Command and U.S.-led coalition launched a major offensive against ISIS in the Salahuddin province. In a statement, the JOC said security forces seized militants' advanced weaponry. In the United States, Joe Biden's advisors have begun discussing who can fill key posts after he pledged the most diverse cabinet in history. In his first speech as the president-elect, Biden vowed to unify the country. Biden and his running mate Kamala Harris have launched a transition website, Build Back Better. and a Twitter feed. They have listed the tackling COVID-19, racial inequality, and climate change as a top priority. His defeated rival Donald Trump continues to cast doubt on election results. His campaign has mounted legal challenges to the results in several states without offering any evidence. China says the United States President-elect Joe Biden can restore predictability to Beijing-Washington relations. China's state media said Beijing should communicate thoroughly with Biden's team. Global Times acknowledged that the United States under Biden is unlikely to ease pressure on Xinjiang and Hong Kong. The newspaper added easing the United States-China tensions is in favor of both countries and the world at large. In an editorial, the China Daily newspaper said improvement in Washington's ties with Beijing could start with trade. Tensions between the world's two largest economies have soared recently, shaking up technology and trade relations. Meanwhile, Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga said he looks forward to strengthening alliance with the United States under President-elect Biden. Speaking to reporters, Suga said he wants to secure peace in the Indo-Pacific region. Earlier, South Korea's foreign minister arrived in Washington to hold talks with her U.S. counterpart, Pompeo. Iran says Donald Trump's ouster from the White House is an opportunity to rebuild relations in the Middle East. In a tweet, Foreign Minister Javad Zarif said relying on outsiders for regional security was not wise. The Iranian top diplomat said geographic realities can't be altered with the removal of officials. Zarif extended an olive branch to his neighbors and called for cooperation in achieving common interests. Earlier, Tehran said the Trump administration's harmful foreign policy can serve as a lesson to the new White House leaders. Iran's presidential head Mahmoud Vazal's said that the next U.S. government should rethink its wrong policies. Azerbaijan says the Armenian troops have again targeted civilians with various small arms and mortars. The defense ministry says Azeri's military retaliation dealt heavy damage to Armenian troops in the Khojavend region. It says the operations in the Akhdir, Akhdam, Khojavend and Gobaldi fronts continue with varying intensity. The ministry said the enemy was forced to retreat in some areas of the front. The latest fighting erupted a day after Azerbaijan said it liberated the city of Shusha from Armenia after 28 years. The city is considered a strategic fortress and a key to control over the Nagorno-Karabakh region. Over 1,200 people have been killed in nearly 6 weeks of fighting in and around the Nagorno-Karabakh. In Belarus, thousands of protesters have taken to the streets in the Belarusian capital city of Minsk. Over 300 people have reportedly been detained in the capital. The protesters are calling for President Alexander Lukashenko to resign after 26 years in power. The initial gathering in the center of the capital was dispersed by security services, but protesters later split out across the city, with scattered groups staging small demonstrations. The country has been rocked by mass protests since a controversial presidential election in August. Major powers, including the United States and the EU, have imposed sanctions against a string of Belarusian officials. Thousands of people rallied in the Georgian capital Tbilisi against the results of the parliamentary elections. Dozens were injured as police used water cannon to disperse the protesters. The protesters held a peaceful rally at the Shodar Rostalville Avenue near the parliament during the day. The police said it used cannon after demonstrators tried to storm the Central Election Commission building. The Interior Ministry said the police used force because protesters did not obey the instructions. Opposition leaders called on supporters to leave the scene, announcing to hold more protests today. In the October 31st general elections, the ruling Georgian Dream Party emerged as the winner, promoting the opposition to protest. In Bolivia, Luis Arce has been sworn in as the country's president. The ceremony inaugurating Arce was held in the city of La Paz, with several leaders in attendance. Heads of state from Argentina, Paraguay, Colombia, Spain, and senior officials from Chile, Iran, and Venezuela were present at the ceremony. The newly sworn-in president has pledged to defeat the pandemic and heal the political rift in the country. Arce says the former president Evo Morales will play no role in his government.
We assume this mandate given to us by the population, the people, to work tirelessly and with humility for the reconstruction of our country. We commit ourselves to rectify what was wrong and to deepen what was right.
Tensions remain high in Bolivia as Morales is expected to return from exile today. Mexico's death toll from COVID-19 has crossed 95,000, with infections nearing 1 million. The U.S. is set to become the first country to hit the 10 million infections mark. India's capital city of New Delhi has hit a peak of a third wave of infections. The country reported 490 deaths overnight, with the toll crossing 126,000, whereas the total number of infections has crossed 8.5 million. Iran has reported its deadliest day with 459 fatalities, pushing the toll over 38,000. Globally, the virus has claimed more than 1.25 million lives and infected over 50 million people. Pakistan has registered 9 COVID-19 deaths in the last 24 hours, pushing the tally to nearly 7,000. The health ministry says 1,650 people tested positive for the virus overnight. The ministry said nearly 345,000 cases so far, almost 319,000 patients have recovered. It added there are nearly 19,000 active cases in the country, while 972 remain critical. As the country witnesses second wave of the virus, the National Command and Operations Center has imposed fresh curbs on gatherings. The NCOC has issued strict guidelines for venues, timings, and sitting arrangements on events. Sikh community all around the world is celebrating the first anniversary of the inauguration of the Kartarpur corridor in Pakistan. Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan inaugurated the corridor to facilitate millions of Sikh pilgrims from India and around the world. Darbar Sahib Kartarpur is located in Narwal district of Pakistan, which is the last resting place of Sikh spiritual leader Guru Nanak Dev. The opening of the corridor last year took place on the eve of 550th birth anniversary of Guru Nanak. The Kartarpur corridor has been widely recognized as a new symbol of peace by the world community. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres acknowledged the opening of the corridor as a practical proof of Pakistan's desire for peace and interfaith harmony. To mark the anniversary, Pakistan's Sikh Gurdwara Prabandhak Committee and Evacuee Trust Property Board are organizing a function at Kartarpur. On the other hand, home to the majority of Sikh, India has been attempting to malign the step taken in good faith by Pakistan. The corridor was closed amid the pandemic, but Pakistan announced to reopen it on the 3rd of October, while the Indian government has remained undecided. There has been outrage among the Sikh community in India over the issue. They said New Delhi has reopened all places of worship, then why not open the corridor? Pakistanis all over the world are celebrating the 143rd birth anniversary of the country's national poet, Allama Mohammed Iqbal. Across the country, various social and literary organizations are organizing seminars and exhibitions to honor Allama Iqbal's birthday. Born on the 9th of November 1877 in the northeastern Sialkot city, Iqbal conceived the conception of a separate homeland for Muslims. In his famous address in Allahabad, India, Iqbal said Muslims are a distinct nation and deserve independence. Iqbal produced literary works in Persian and Urdu languages. Of his 12,000 verses of poetry, about 7,000 verses are in Persian. His tremendous work in both languages earned him the title of the Poet of the East by literary critics. It's now time for a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. In Myanmar, voting counting is underway after yesterday's general elections. The Election Commission is due to release early results today and will announce the complete results in a week. 315 seats are up for grab in the 425-member lower house, while 161 in a 217-seat upper chamber. A spokesperson for ruling National League for Democracy Party hoped they will win to form a government again. Supporters of the NLD gathered in the biggest city, Yangon, to celebrate what they called Aung San Suu Kyi's win. The ethnic Rohingya Muslim minority voters in Rakhine were barred from voting. In a statement, their Democracy and Human Rights Party said it is utterly disappointed that its people had been disenfranchised. Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed says Tigray's People Liberation Front has been preparing for war with the federal government since 2018. In a televised address, Ahmed said Tigray's People Liberation Front siphoned development funds to buy weapons and train militias. It said the TPLF's aim was to make Ethiopia's ungovernment by instigating clashes along ethnic and religious lines. The Prime Minister said the party conducted both covert and overt attempts to undermine Ethiopia's administration and people.
A key challenge we faced in this regard from the early days was the organized and highly networked obstruction of justice that was being orchestrated by those who played a leading role in the systemic abuse of human rights and a massive corruption.
Meanwhile, Abiy has replaced his army chief, the head of intelligence, and the foreign minister as the military offensive continued in Tigray. That has made landfall in Florida with maximum sustained winds of 100 kilometers per hour. The National Hurricane Center has warned the tropical storm could strengthen into a hurricane near the Gulf of Mexico. Florida Power and Light says more than 37,000 households are currently without power. Earlier, the storm pounded central Cuba with torrential rain, bursting the banks of rivers and causing flash flooding. Thousands of people were evacuated ahead of its landfall. State media says storm knocked down trees and caused power outages. The outer bands of Eta also caused a landslide in Jamaica's capital city of Kingston, isolating residents. The death toll from the calamitous storm in Central America has crossed 150. Spain's Canary Islands has noted a sharp increase in the number of migrants from Western Africa. The government has recorded over 11,000 arrivals in the islands this year, compared with about 2,500 in 2019. Spanish emergency services said over 1,600 migrants have been rescued or reached at the Canary Islands over the weekend. Talking to the media, Canary Services spokesperson said the migrants arrived on about 20 barely seaworthy boats. The spokesperson added that the migrants have also been arriving on the islands of Gran Canaria, Tenerife, and El Hierro. He said rescuers recovered a body of a migrant who died during the unsafe journey. And a university in East China is using robots to deliver parcels for its students during the Singles' Day shopping season.
Alibaba launched the annual online shopping promotion on November 11, 2009. Many Chinese young people celebrate this as a Singles' Day. They picked the date because 11/11 resembles 4 bear sticks, a Chinese term for a bachelor. Now, with the help of robots, students at Zhejiang University can get their packages in 10 minutes after booking for the service on their mobile phones.
The robots will arrive at our dormitory building, and we just need to come downstairs at the appointed time and location to pick up our packages.
The robots now deliver more than 3,000 parcels daily in the Zhejiang campus. The campus receives more than 5 million parcels every year.
In Egypt, a young table tennis player is making waves after being ranked #1 globally in the under-15s. She is the first African player to have done so. More in this report.
12-year-old Hannah Gata may not be the youngest table tennis player to compete professionally, but her performance in various local, regional, and global competition has seen her rise through the ranks, and she is now well on her way to achieving her Olympic dreams. She played a winning match last year in the Egyptian National Championships against 27-year-old Zamalek club player Farah Abdulaziz.
Everyone was astonished, but at the same time happy for me, because they weren't expecting I would win the women's competition. I enjoy playing with older players because I love it. When the match is hard, I like playing with experts, but also the easier ones.
Gota was just 4 years old when she started playing for Egyptian Al Ahly club, and almost 7 years later, she has earned herself global recognition.
بص احنا الحمد لله احنا تيم وورك
We have a plan for her and God willing she will achieve it. We had planned for her to be the #1 in the world this year, and thankfully with all the competitions she won, she has become the #1 player in the world. In Egypt, it was such a surprise for us that she also won the Egyptian women's tournament.
The Tennis Federation has described her as a 12-year-old, setting unprecedented standards for the continent of Africa.
Thousands of rare photos of space exploration are up for auction in the Christie's, London. A rare photograph of astronaut Neil Armstrong on the surface of the moon is a part of the comprehensive collection. The Voyage to Another World collection, curated over decades, is a mix of iconic images that were unreleased at the time by NASA. The auction house says the sale of over 2,400 photographs documents the Apollo missions and the golden age of space exploration.
So this is an incredibly exciting collection of photographs, and we are honoured at Christie's to have been entrusted with the sale. It's 700 lots, over 2,400 photographs in total, documenting the artistic heritage of the Apollo missions and the golden age of space exploration.
The sale's top lot is an unreleased photograph of Neil Armstrong taken in 1969 when he became the first human to step on the moon. The photograph is expected to go for $39,000. Another image due to go under the hammer is of Armstrong's crewmate Buzz Aldrin when he managed to photograph himself during the 1965 space mission.
It's the first selfie in space. We're so used to selfies these days as being easy and done by everyone, but this is a big camera that Buzz Aldrin had to turn around and point at himself with a beautiful image of the Earth in the background.
Other items range from early images of the far side of the moon from the late 50s to the NASA and Apollo missions of the 1960s and 70s, and ending with images of the Red Planet. Christie's online auction will run till the 20th of November. Stocks in the Asia-Pacific are trading higher as investors reacted to Joe Biden's victory in the United States presidential race. In Japan, the Nikkei 225 jumped 2.5%, while the Topix index added close to 2%. South Korea's Kospi also rose well over 1%. Mainland Chinese stocks saw robust gains, with the Shanghai Composite up to close to 2%. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index advanced over 1.5%. Shares in Australia were also higher, with the ASX 200 gaining 1.6%. Oil prices were higher, with international benchmark Brent crude futures up to 2.5%. At the third China International Import Expo in East China's Shanghai, vehicles with advanced technologies and innovative designs are catching visitors' eyes.
Battery electric vehicles are the mainstream in the auto area at China's Import Expo this year. Almost all famous brands have brought their new models or concept vehicles. The most eye-catching vehicle is a golden Apollo Intensa Emotion hypercar featuring the first all-carbon fiber production chassis of its kind. It weighs only 1.2 tons and realizes a 0 to 100 meters per hour acceleration within 2.7 seconds only. With the price of $3 million, the car has already been sold. Automated driving is another keyword in this year's exhibition.
Automated driving is a long industrial chain which can't be completed by one company. It requires the cooperation of original equipment manufacturer and suppliers. So that's one reason for our focus on the CIIE, because it helps us to deepen the relations with our cooperative partner while developing new partnership.
A Mercedes-Benz Arox double-decker motorhome also surprised visitors with its functions. The motorhome consists of 3 bedrooms and a living room, together with a well-equipped kitchen and a bathroom. This all-terrain motorhome sells for nearly $1.6 million. The third CIIE kicked off on November 5th and will run until November 10th.
football, Valencia thrashed Real Madrid 4-1 in the Spanish La Liga fixture. Carlos Soler's hat-trick over penalties secured Valencia's win in the extraordinary match. Karim Benzema put Real Madrid in the driving seat, scoring from a long range. But Soler's equalizers came soon with a penalty. Real centre-back Rafael Varane's own goal capitalized on Valencia's lead, followed by Soler scoring his second from another penalty. Valencia's midfielder completed his hat-trick with the third spot kick award when Sergio Ramos handled. The latest win moves Valencia to the 9th place in the league with 11 points. In the other La Liga fixtures, Real Sociedad beat Granada 2-0, whereas Villarreal downed Getafe 3-1. In the English Premier League title contenders, Manchester City have played a 1-1 draw against Liverpool at the Etihad Stadium. Liverpool took an early lead in the first half after Mohammed Salah scored from a penalty. Minutes later, Gabriel Jesus leveled the City for a neat effort into the bottom corner. Liverpool missed the penalty of chances to seize 3 points, while City wasted a penalty to close the gap in points. In another fixture, Leicester City beat Wolves 1-0 to go into the international break top of the league table. Earlier, Harry Kane scored for Tottenham Hotspur as they edge past West Brom at the Hawthorns. For the latest news updates, you can follow us on our social media at Indus.news.